Hare Krishna. I welcome you all to the fifth episode of Hare Krishna TV in regards to cow protection and spreading awareness about cow exploitation. If you all are here and you all have joined this session, I would just like to make a simple request. Please stay till the end because these shows are just a humble attempt in order to raise awareness about mother cow, in order to educate and help more people come together and serve and protect mother cow. If you have been a regular viewer, you know that in the recent times we have been pretty much vocal about the protection of mother cow. We have been inviting people from all walks of life, from all genre, to come and speak and educate us about mother cow and how we can, as city dwellers, help in the protection of mother cow. Today, we have with us a very, very, very special guest. Born in the 1960s, Mr. Shyam Sundar Das, His Grace Shyam Sundar Prabhuji, is a UK resident, and it was the year 1979 that he joined Krishna consciousness. He has written several books about cow protection and how we can help mother cow serve us, how we can serve mother cow, and he has been helping cow protection projects globally. He visits India, America, Europe, Australia, South Africa, and many other continents and countries and helps in the cow protection projects. We are very, very fortunate to talk to him directly, to hear from him directly, and to ask our questions directly. I would like to request you to share this session to as many people as possible and stay attentive, stay till the end, and take the full benefit of this conversation. So let us, without wasting any further minute, invite His Grace Shyam Sundar Prabhuji on our show.
Hi, Krishna. Thank you very much for inviting me on this very important topic. Thank you. Hi, Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for accepting this invitation and coming and joining with us. Thank you so much for managing with the time difference and joining as per our convenience. Thank you so much. So, Prabhuji, since you have written so many books about cow protection, you have been an active member when it comes to cow protection. Could you please tell us what is it about mother cow that attracts you to her?
Well, it's very fascinating because it is a very regular personal experience that people have that when they come in contact with a cow, they get something from it. There's something soothing and reassuring. And I find the more I interface with them, the more I feel benefited from it. And in my research on Srila Prabhupada's books, and particularly the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is amazing. These are not just four-legged animals amongst us. These are beings from the celestial realms on earth with us. They have everything about them is profound and extraordinary. And the more I research that, then the more I see how wonderful Krishna is for creating such a wonderful interconnectedness between cows and humans.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Your personal experience is sure going to be at the foundation of this session. Thank you so much for telling us how special mother cows are to you. And I request to you to pass on this energy to all of us through this session, even though we have been connected digitally and through the online medium. I know for a fact that this session is going to be filled with warmth and filled with new information. My first question to you is, Prabhuji, what is the current scenario in regards to the condition of cows? Since you have been traveling to so many countries, can you give us an overview?
Well, the overview is that if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, hardly a cow was harmed. And if you look at the state of society now, hardly a cow is not harmed. Every cow is going to meet an end that it should not meet. So that in 5,000 years, the whole culture has gone upside down. So here we are in a globe that actually that completely interfaces and recognizes the importance of cows. Cows are everywhere in every country, so many different breeds. Every government recognizes the importance of cows particularly for their dairy nowadays. Still, some countries, they appreciate the males for draft. So them being recognized as important, that's still everywhere in the world. But unfortunately, because they are not led by religious Vedic principles, those cows are not protected. So here we are in run by governments that practically support, endorse, encourage, finance the killing of cows. Here we are taking inspiration from Srila Prabhupada and the Srimad Bhagavatam and trying to reintegrate cow protection back into society. And it is an immense task. I was raised in a Western environment. I'm technologically attuned with technology and engines things. And then to the whole concept of reintegrating something so natural, so something profound, it's full of challenges. And so where do you go for cow protection? It's a word that is very prominent in our books. For example, when I first started when I started doing cow protection at Bhaktivedanta Manor, I wanted to know, well, actually, how are we meant to do it? How are we meant to protect cows? And is there anything in our books that gives us some hints how it could be done? So when I did the research, I was very surprised how much practical information there was in how we look after cows. And not surprisingly, for devotees of Krishna, the 10th canto is full of so many practical references. So I find that very, very inspiring, how what we could do. And also to think about Srila Prabhupada's lofty vision for cow protection. So as a globe, cows are everywhere, but they're all being killed. Everywhere killing cows is practically part of the economy of a lot of countries. So what we're trying to do is something very profound and significant. It is as powerful a mission, you could say, or as powerful or as difficult a task of trying to turn the world into pure devotees of Krishna. Cow protection has similar kind of obstacles.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I mean, not everybody knew the fact that in the Bhagavatam, it is described that hardly any cow was harmed. But today, hardly any cow is unharmed. And the way the tables have turned, the way the situation has flipped, it is really very, very heartbreaking. But since you told us that the scriptures are full of practical ways on how to protect cows, our title says something not so similar to this. The title of the show is Modern Dairy Exposed, what Srimad Bhagavatam warned us 5,000 years ago. So, Prabhuji, what is it that is so alarming in the scriptures in regards to maybe say cow protection or cow exploitation?
Well, it's actually important. So it's important, very important verse to be aware of, because in our devotee circles, there's often a debate about should Hare Krishna drink milk or not from the commercial dairy. And one of the arguments posed is that if Srila Prabhupada knew what was going on in the modern dairies, he would have said something different. When we research Srila Prabhupada's instructions, we do not find anywhere in his writings or his lectures or his conversations that the way that we should respond to the dairy industry is we should stop drinking the milk. You don't find that instruction anywhere. And someone say, well, Srila Prabhupada didn't say it to us because he didn't know what was going on in the modern dairy. But if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 17, text number 3, the Srimad Bhagavatam itself outlines what is going to happen to the cows in this age. And Srila Prabhupada's purport clearly outlines he knew exactly what was going on into modern dairy. The Sanskrit is gamcha dharma dugam dinam Brisham Shudra Padahatam, Vivatsam Ashru Vadanam, Shamam Yavasam Ichatim. And it's very significant because the opening line is, and the cows is Dharma Dugam, which means liquid religiosity, Srila Prabhupada calls it. Milk is Dharma. Milk is the highest sense of principles of truth. Dinam, the cows are poor. They've been treated in a low or inferior way, although they are the associates of celestials, though they are the companions of Brahmanas, demigods, the Vedas, the devotees, the saintly people, although they're on that, you could say, line of divine beings, they've been treated very poorly. They're distressed. They're being looked after by people who don't really love them, don't really care about them, and they're being beaten. This is what's depicted in this kind of lines of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Vivatsam, their calves have gone. Someone's taken their calves. This is the heart of the dairy industry. The calves are taken from very early times. And how is that possible? The Bhagavatam predicts it. Vivatsam, Ashru Vadanam, the cows are crying. They're crying at the loss of their calves. Anyone who experiences that time in the year when the local farmers take their calves away from the mothers, you hear the cows crying for days on end. Shamam, they're feeling hardship in their lives, these cows. Yavasam Ichatim, and they're desiring some grass. So nowadays, it's getting increasingly less likely that cows will be out there grazing in the fields. They're eating artificially. In England, some years ago, there was a whole controversy. They were feeding non-vegetarian food to the cows, and that was transferring itself into the human population. Bovine spongiform encephalopathy, mad cow disease, they were calling it. So this is predicted in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is 5,000 years ago. When you read Srila Prabhupada's purport, you clearly see, he understands, he says, and the calves are separated for purposes which shall not be mentioned in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. When the cows are milked artificially by the Shudra milkman, and when there's no more milk, they're sent away to be killed. So this verse clearly points out, it predicts what's going to happen, and it is happening, and Srila Prabhupada was fully aware of it. So it's a very important verse. And to me, what's interesting there, when Srila Prabhupada lists all the problems in the present day society, he didn't list as milk. Being a milk drinker is a cause of the problems in the present day society. There's a distinction there. When you look at the references about milk, as this verse says, Dharma Dugam, it's liquid religion. It's and other verses talk about that it is, there's a verse in the 8th canto, Gavam Pancha Pavitrani, that these 5 products of the cows are pure, uncontaminated. So this is a very important verse because it shows that Srila Prabhupada was treating the milk in a different way than the horrors around how milk is produced today. My understanding is you cannot take the divinity out of a cow. One of our great scholars called Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, he's written books about cow protection. He's also the European Minister for Cow Protection. He termed this bovinity, divinity, bovinity. Bovines are on that level. So even though and that's why this verse is so important, because although they are celestial beings, they've been treated in the most abominable way, but still their milk is Dharma Dugam. So what I get from Srila Prabhupada's teachings is that he instilled that in us again and again, it's important to drink milk. I think in your last post, you mentioned this issue about that cow's milk is not just milk from an animal. It is called amrita. It's nectar. It's the food of the gods. So there's something that separates the milk. It kind of retains its sanctity, even despite all the horrors that go on around it. Very difficult concept. Very difficult concept. I find myself not at conflict with it, and I think it's because I'm rooting my perspective on reality in terms of cows on the Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm currently doing a study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. How many verses have got something to do with cows or their products? And there's 600. There's 600 verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam that have got some reference to cows or their milk or the bulls or something. It's 3% of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. That gives the weight. It gives the weight. Our Vrajabhumi, Vraja, the place, our most sacred place, means the place where the cows wander. It's like, cow protection is there everywhere in the Vedas. So this is a very powerful verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's predicting the plight of the cows, and yet the milk is called Dharma Dugam. I think that's very telling for us about that. Just like you cannot take the cow out of a cow. It's a cow. It's born a cow. Whereas a Brahmana, you expect certain qualifications. But if you're born a cow, you get all the credentials of a cow, and any cow can give milk. And that milk can be turned to butter, can be turned to ghee. And that ghee you can offer on the sacred fire. Or you can put it into your ghee lamps and offer it to the deities. Any cow can give you its milk, which can be turned to ghee, which can be used in any sacrificial and ceremonial purpose. So every cow has this natural bovinity, whether they're protected or not. But it's horrible that they're not protected.
Right. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Actually, there are certain viewers that are asking you to repeat the shloka number and the canto number and the chapter number.
Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 17, text number 3. There's a whole bunch of verses around there on the similar, but this is the most powerful one.
So Prabhuji, you clearly mentioned about it and you explained to us that in spite of all the difficulties that the mother cow goes through, in spite of all the problems that she has to go through, still the milk that is coming out, it is liquid religion. And you very nicely mentioned how milk, the divinity of the milk cannot be taken away from it. And on the other hand, what there are certain activists, what are they trying to promote is the cows are going through so many hardships because people are consuming milk. You very well know that cows only produce milk when they are pregnant. So they're being artificially inseminated, they're being injected with various kinds of hormones. And if the cow is so worshipable, if she's so divine, then why do we let her go through all of these things? And you also mentioned that Prabhupada has written the purport on this verse, and he's clearly mentioned, and he's well aware of how the modern dairy industry will look like, what the condition of the cows will look like. Still, he did not emphasize on not drinking milk. So, Prabhuji, what is the solution? How can we protect cows, drink milk at the same time, and also ensure that cows are not going through these troubles?
Well, there's a number of things that are intertwined there, and I think it's important to sometimes separate them. If you, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Go Raksha, Krishi Go Raksha Vanyam Vaishya Karma Sabhavajam, that the Vaishyas, they do agriculture, hopefully with bulls. Go Raksha, cow protection, they protect cows and they trade the surpluses. So Go Raksha means you have cows and you protect them. It's they go together. Having cows is intrinsic part of cow protection. You have to have cows to protect them. So if you abstain from milk, for example, then you're not actually protecting cows in terms of Go Raksha. You're just abstaining from the milk. You're not actually doing anything positive to create a alternative system for the society. And this is one of the you could say, difficulties of our Krishna conscious society is that we don't have enough cow protection projects. And the cow protection projects that we have, they don't have the scale of capacity to reach out for other people. Now, that's one argument. The other issue is about the quality of milk. And we're hearing it's probably less likely, certainly in Europe, there are certain rules and legislation about what goes into your milk. In Europe, they don't use growth hormones. And any antibiotic use is very strictly controlled. There has to be a waiting period before that milk can be used. Maybe America is different. And also, we hear horror stories how in some factories in a place near you, there are people mixing all kinds of weird stuff together and calling it milk or ghee or whatever. So we're not throwing away our discrimination. If we want better quality milk, then it's better to go to a goshala in the EU and see the cow being milked and take that milk. Because otherwise, it's very likely that you add a bit of water to it or you mix it with something else to add to the profit. So we're not saying throw away you got to take some responsibility to choose your better quality of milk. Now, the real problem is that we have to have cow protection. We have to have enough cow protection that not only the deities, but the temples, the departments, and the community devotees get cow protection milk. And where do you find such milk? This is the real problem. We don't have enough cow protection. We don't have enough cows protected to provide milk for all the needs of our society. We haven't played catch up. Srila Prabhupada, in his letters, back in one of our famous farms in Hyderabad, he said, we are ISKCON, a society independent from the rest of society. He wanted ISKCON to produce, as Sanatana was mentioning, all the grains, all the vegetables, all the flowers, all the dairy products. He wanted us to produce our own dairy. He wanted us to live the life of the Bhagavatam by using our own cows and cultivating the land with our own bulls. Somehow or other, we didn't keep pace with those instructions. And now here we are in 2025. We have, 700 temples around the world. We have, was it 1 million? I don't know how many people are Hare Krishnas or follow our, I don't know what the figure is. And we got, 5,000 cows in the world. The scale of our cow protection has not kept pace with the growth of our own society. And now we're talking about cow protection, and where do people go? To not drink milk is not Vedic culture. We're meant to drink milk. And why deny yourself the benevolence of the cow? But we should be having more cow protection. We should be able to go somewhere where we can get milk from protected cows. And that hasn't prioritized the attention of our leaders. Not a criticism. Our leaders are spreading the movement in so many different directions. And oftentimes it's the case that the needs of the cow protection are very highly capital orientated. You want to buy an acre of land where I am near Bagdinton Manor. You want to buy 1 acre of land, you're going to pay £20,000 at least for 1 acre. And then you need a certain amount of 2.5 acres per cow. You need to build barns. It's very capital concentrated. So oftentimes it's easier not to give it attention. But then that happens year after year after year after year. And now you have a situation where we have hundreds of temples, thousands, maybe millions of followers, and we don't have cow protection milk to provide to their needs. And therefore it's creating this great tension in, well, what is our philosophy? Should we drink milk? Should we not drink milk? Srila Prabhupada said, yes, we should drink milk, but we should have cow protection. We should have not just as a show for the world. In fact, I think we have to have straw in the teeth, humility, because as yet, our cow protection is not so dynamic that the world is looking to us for examples. And we need to get to that point. Srila Prabhupada, he wanted that our Indian Goshalas are the exemplary examples in the world. So we have a lot of work to do to get to that point. We have to catch up. We have to have enough milk and milk products to provide for our deities, for our departments, for our restaurants, for our devotees. There's a huge energy there. So to me, that's really the campaign that people should be going on. How can we establish sustainable, strong, powerful cow protection projects where the devotees who work with those cow protection projects are feeling nourished, satisfied, secure, and those cows can thrive and grow and develop. We want people to visit our Goshalas and their jaws to drop and tears come from their eyes when they see how beautiful the cows are being taken care of. We have a long way to go to get to that state where people are just stunned at that level of presentation of cow protection.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We really hope that we are moving forward in that direction to achieve that day, to live to that day. And I just pray that every word that you just spoke turns out to be true. Prabhuji, when you spoke about drinking milk, because that is what the Vedic scriptures say, looking at the modern industry, what they do is, in order to increase the production of the milk, the male calf has to go through a lot right from the moment he is born. Also, once the cows and the buffaloes, they have stopped giving milk, they are again sent to be killed. So what I want to ask you is, people associated with the dairy industry are often in a dilemma about the male calf and the bull as to what to do with them, because they do not give milk and hence do not help in earning any profit. So what is your opinion on this?
Well, everyone is being killed. If you go to any village, for example, on our tour, and you drive through the village, you can look around you. What do you see? You see a cow and a calf. Where's last year's calf? Where's the previous year's calf? Never mind whether it's male or female. Where are they? You find just maybe 2 or 3 cows in the garden, milked by 2 or 3 calves there. Where did the last year's calves go? So it's not just the males. I'm going to come to your point in a minute, but it's everyone. They're all being sent away for economic reasons. As Sanatan Prabhu was mentioning in your last session, if you want milk to carry the cost of your Goshala, you need to get 200 rupees per liter. And he mentioned the market rate was 45 rupees per liter. Yes. So you can't, if anyone's getting 45 rupees per liter, those cows are not being protected unless they have a system of support like a lot of our Goshalas do. People support them, they donate towards them, and that allows them to sell their milk at a cheaper rate. Now, the bulls is a major issue. It's a major issue not just for government. It's also a major issue for our own society. What do you do with them? Well, the first thing you do with them is you don't kill them. You keep them. And you utilize their dung and their urine as a fertilizer. Also, as Sanatan was pointing out, certainly in Asia, you can make medicinal products and you can sell them for the benefit of society. And was it Sahadev? Sahadev knew the art of selecting a cow or a bull where a woman who was barren could bear a child. So there's a whole mystical process there of cow selection, cow shearing that we haven't quite rediscovered yet. So at least the cow should live, the bull should live, and they should give manure. But more challenging than that is, how do you reintegrate them back into agriculture? How do you reintegrate them back into local transportation? How do you reintegrate them into local power sources by oil presses or grain mills? This requires really, really powerful management, powerful leadership. Most people have a relationship with milk. They drink it, and some don't drink it. But how many people make a calculation? I'm only going to eat food grown by a protected bull. Well, I think it's by a bull. You probably find some. You might find some food like that, partly grown by a bull, but a protected bull, that's so rare, such a rare phenomenon. We did a survey of some very large Goshalas, and we noted that 20% of the population was male. So where are they? Where are these 80% males gone? They're not plowing the fields. They're not doing agriculture. So in the West, everybody knows the bulls where they're gone. They're all going down the route of gone. But it's happening everywhere. Even in the home of the Vedas, it's also happening there. And how do you rectify that? Well, I don't think we should necessarily be pointing our fingers at the government or whatever. We as members of the ISKCON society, we have a great responsibility to find a place for the oxen in our own society, to give them a role to play in agriculture and transportation. And this issue was raised by Srila Prabhupada. He said, you asked me how to engage the oxen. Well, or probably he wouldn't use the word oxen, he would just use the word bulls. He would say agriculture, transportation, crushing grains, and preaching. 10 miles this way, 10 miles that. So he gave us really powerful, heavy directions. So we have nothing to say to the world, I would say, for some time, until we can live it ourselves. We can reintegrate the oxen back into our lives. So people are asking this question, what about the bulls? So there's the question. Well, what are you going to do about the bulls? What are you going to do about the bulls? How can you do something about the bulls? How can you save at least one bull? One great heartfelt sannyasi, Smita Krishna Maharaj, we're having a debate on this topic some years ago in Prabhupada Desh in Italy. The debate, milk, should we drink milk, should we not drink milk? And he noted that sometimes those who drink milk have an arrogance, as I'm articulating. Srila Prabhupada said that we can drink milk. So sometimes there's an arrogance about it. Yes, Srila Prabhupada said we can drink milk. And therefore, they don't seem to have compassion for the cows. His point was, at least protect one cow. Nice point. At least protect one cow. Everyone should protect one cow. In that verse that I quoted in the beginning, Srimad Bhagavatam 1:17.3, Srila Prabhupada in the purport mentioned that Sanatanists, the followers of Sanatan Dharma, they keep cows and bulls as household paraphernalia. Okay, how you do that in Mumbai? Okay, maybe you don't have to have the cow in your own garden, but maybe there's a cow or a bull that is yours and someone else is looking after it. Maybe a Goshala is looking after it. Maybe it's their cow or bull that you're adopting. So you're doing something, at least for one cow or one bull. So what do we do about these cows and bulls? Well, we have to start somewhere and somehow to find a place for them. And we need intelligent, powerful leaders to give the place for an ox or a bull right now in this 21st century. Somehow or other, give them a place, even though it may not make economic sense. Does cow protection make sense? It doesn't make sense if you just look at the cow's milk. No Goshala makes money just from cow's milk because people won't pay the price. Even our beloved Hare Krishna devotees struggle at the price range between what it takes to produce the milk and what they're willing to pay. At most, they might pay half of the price. So cow protection has to be subsidized somewhere or other. The benevolence of people, the sales of various products, there's various things that you do to kind of, you learn to milk the cow in all the ways the cow can be milked. You've got so many benevolences. For example, people, they enjoy the experience of interacting with cows. They want to hug a cow. They want to feed a cow, brush a cow. You want to scratch it under the chin. You want to have a go at milking a cow. And in some places, they will give you money to have that experience. They feel so happy to have that experience, they pay for it. We have this Care for Krishna's Cows course put on by the Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture. And one of the sessions is all this lists of all the different ways that the cows are waiting to provide you benevolence. So similarly, the oxen, what part can they play? How can you get them going again? How are we going to get them back into the visible lives of people? Very difficult. You can just try it. In your next board meeting, you talk about reintegrating oxen into the activities of your project, and see how difficult the conversation is. But that's the hurdle we have to cross. Somewhere to give them. We need powerful, heroic leaders who are going to tackle this issue and reintegrate the oxen into the lives of our own society, the society that we can have some influence about. If we can have a good example ourselves, then maybe others might pay attention to it. But we should do it because Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do it. And that's the kind of the philosophical, practical landscape of the Srimad Bhagavatam. A life of cows and bulls and calves. I was reading the other day that Krishna and Balaram were rolling in the cow dung, which in their village, which means that they were there. There's cows there, there's cow dung there, there's calves there. And Mother Yashoda and Rohini, they picked the child up and they breastfed the child. Imagine that. Most of us think, well, I better wash the cow dung off first, but not then. The cow dung was a part of the beautification of Krishna and Balaram. So that kind of connection with cows, for most of us, it's lost. So how do you find a place for the oxen and the bulls? And we shouldn't just think, oh, let someone else work it out. No, we should try and do something. I think this is a much more powerful campaign. And it's not a weak-hearted campaign. You're really pushing against this wave of Kali Yuga. How can we give a place to the bulls and cows? If we can't find a place for them, then why are we expecting someone else to find a place for them? So cow protection means, Goraksha means you have cows and you protect them. Not having cows is not cow protection. For example, if I don't drink milk and there's no cows, I am not practicing cow protection. For example, in the ocean, there's no cows being killed. It's not a place of cow protection. A place of cow protection is where there are cows and they are being protected. So we somewhere or other have to scale things up. So we have enough cows to provide for the deities, the devotees, the community, and the community. And somewhere or other, we got to refocus on the importance of these bulls. If nothing else, they give dung and urine, but give them some work. When you work with an ox, they become peaceful in their eyes. They become satisfied. They've got these powerful muscles. And when they've been stretching them, you see in their face satisfaction and contentment. So give them that role. And the people who work with them, they also feel satisfied. You know, you drive your John Deere, and you feel I'm modern, but you don't get the reciprocation from 80 horsepower as you do with 2 ox power. There's a different experience going on. We want people to become happy. And happiness is not just by acquisition. Happiness is something that you feel inside. So the more people who are working with cows, milking the cows, brushing the cows, working with the oxen, they're finding they're getting happiness from that interaction. So society should help people have that interaction. And our own ISKCON society should provide those opportunities also. Find somewhere or other that we get bigger fields of land. We get huge pasturing grounds. We get huge acreage of agricultural land. And we put those bulls in those fields and we plow the land, we cultivate the land, we harvest the crops. It takes powerful leadership to make those decisions. That's the better campaign. That's a better solution for the cows and bulls. Do something practical for them.
Right. That means, Prabhuji, if we stop drinking milk, this is not an active involvement in regards to cow protection. And I think this is a very, very nice point that you put forth. And if we think on this carefully, it makes a lot of sense. So, Prabhuji, also cows and buffaloes, they are tagged as useless once they stop giving milk. Now, the way you described, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the shlok in the 17th chapter, shlok number 3, is there also something mentioned in the scriptures about the bulls and the oxes?
Well, there is. I mean, most of the quotes are about milk and their products, but there are a number of verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam that talks about just like a bull is controlled by the nose. And it describes how the whole unit, how we're all controlled by the three modes of material nature. We're all controlled by the power of the Supreme Lord, just like you control a bull by its nose. So it's indicating Lord Chaitanya in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, famous conversation with the Chand Kazi. He says, the mother is like the cow is the mother because she gives you milk. I want to bring another point in about milk in just a moment. And the bull is like the father because he helps you produce the grains. Nowadays, the grains are done by tractors. So somewhere or other, to be able to live that philosophy of Lord Chaitanya, we've got to get the bulls back to producing grains. I want to share with you a mystical process about the cows, which is not readily known. And it's something that is definitely seen in Western type cows, the Bos Taurus types, and it's not fully witnessable from the Bos Taurus types. And that you made a point that cows have to have a calf to give milk. Well, sometimes not. Most of our goshalas in the Western world have cows that give milk spontaneously. We call them virgin milkers, and they give milk without even having a calf. And usually what happens is the cow she's so happy, she starts swelling in her udder, and then the milkman takes that milk. In other cases, the milkman has a go, just tries to stimulate the cow to produce milk, and she produces milk. At the present time, there's not a lot of research going on into the zebu type cows and their ability to spontaneously give milk like that. And if they was research like that, then suddenly we may find a lot more cows saved because they're giving milk for a lot longer. Another important phenomena, which is not fully explored, is the extended lactations. This means that once a cow has had a calf, you'll continue to milk her without re-impregnating her. And you'll allow her to give milk for as long as she wants to give milk. And very commonly, you get cows like that, they'll give milk from 8 years, 10 years from their one calf. And the idea is just like a mother, as long as she feeds her child, she'll keep producing milk. So cows have that same motherly ability that as long as they're happy to give you milk, they keep producing milk. I was just visiting a couple of farms in Italy, Hare Krishna farm. There's 3 goshalas there. And 2 of them had cows that were giving milk for 8, 10 years from one calf. On average, it's 4 years, but quite regularly, they give milk for a lot longer. So imagine if that was practiced more in our Indian type cows. If you could extend their lactation 2 years, 3 years, that would produce more milk. It would mean the cows would live longer. That's another kind of important part of research. So cows have this, again, all these mystical properties about them. They can give milk without even having a calf, just because they're happy. So again, we have to learn how to reciprocate with the cows like that.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This piece of information was completely new to me. Although I had come across some points like the cows, they keep on producing milk because they've been injected with certain hormones. But you were telling us that it is sometimes it is out of love that they keep producing milk simply because they want to feed their younger ones. Prabhuji, my final question to you is it possible for us to follow exactly what is written in the scriptures about cow protection?
Well, probably not, but the principles we can. For
Hmm.
example, Krishna used to graze his cows. Like even now, in some villages, you will go there and the boys will take out, or the children will take the cows out into the fields and graze them. So most of our goshalas around the world don't practice that. They usually put the cows in some kind of fenced area and they let the cows graze there for all the time or part of the time. So that particular practice, it's not a fundamental practice. It's just a practice according to time, place, and circumstances.
Hmm.
And so those things you don't necessarily have to practice. But the principle is you let the cows eat grass, you let them have exercise, you give them a variety of environments to enjoy. That's a principle that you can provide for your cows. But exactly what methodology you graze them, that's just a practical detail. But the principles about cows, that's kind of universal. If however you kind of interface with a cow, you're going to get the benefit from it. From somehow or other, we have to find a way that these cows are reintegrated back into society, back into our lives. And the specific details about it, that may vary from place to place. Don't kill a cow. Find a methodology that we can have cows and we don't going to kill them. That's what our contribution is. We don't kill our cows, but we don't have enough of them. We don't have enough of the cows that we're not killing. We must have more cows, bigger goshalas, more cows, more bulls. And then society may take note. Even if society doesn't take note, we'll take note. We'll take note how this is such a wonderful lifestyle. And there it is, explained in the Bhagavatam, the general principles, how cows are benefit for society, and how if we serve those cows, we find happiness. Srila Prabhupada makes that comment. People don't, in that same purport, people don't know how they earn happiness by making the cow and the bull happy. So somehow or other, find some way that you're making some cows and some bulls happy and measure that happiness in yourself.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Indeed, it is very important to take note that the principles have to stay the same, although the processes, the procedures, and the way we treat cows can differ. Prabhuji, apart from this, what are some of the other principles that we need to consider while initiating cow protection or while supporting cow protection? Also, I wanted to ask you, Prabhuji, just few minutes back, you had mentioned about how we city dwellers can help in cow protection by maybe say adopting a cow or maybe say providing for a cow economically. So when supposing I adopted a cow and there's this one person who looks after a cow that is mine and I pay him money to look after the cow. So when I visit that cows, how can I make out that this cow is healthy and is in a healthy position? What are some of the parameters that one has to consider while looking at a cow?
Well, sometimes cows are going to get sick, and generally people don't see. Well, certainly in the West, people don't see older or sick cows. In our Goshala at Bhaktansa Manor, we have a sick bay, and this is a place where the cows go to die, and they're nursed sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months by a dedicated team of people. So, a natural part of keeping cows is there somebody's going to get sick. Therefore, you have to do your own diligence. You have to find people who are trained in cow protection, and they're going to look after your cows in the proper way. So it's not enough just to have anyone looking after your cows. You have to be consciously taking part in it, in selecting. Generally, our goshalas are in good hands. Their intention is good. There's definitely a lot of improvement that can be made, significant amount of improvements can be made. And Sanatanatam is part of those very powerful experts who are going around and guiding our Goshalas to keep going forward, keep going forward. As I was saying, there's been a bit of a gap in the momentum, a gap in the supervision, a gap in the kind of, growing the Goshalas. This is kind of now in a phase of addressing that issue, coaching, training, courses, guiding the Goshalas so they can come to higher and higher levels of practices. So normally you can accept that our Goshalas are in good hands, but you can't throw away your own discrimination. You have to see what the cows are. And you also have to decide whether you're going to share your adoption with another person, whether you're solely adopting a cow. Sometimes it might be a question of, I'm going to adopt a cow. Maybe it doesn't matter which cow, but I'm going to adopt one of your cows. And then they can choose which cow you're adopting. Because sometimes cows will pass on, and that support is also good to pass on to the next part of the Goshala.
Right. True. So, Prabhuji, other than that, what are the other ways the city people can contribute to the cow protection movement? Because, as you rightly mentioned, giving up on milk and avoiding dairy products is not something that has been mentioned in the Vedas. So, how can we consume milk and at the same time actively contribute to cow protection movements? Because you rightly
Well,
mentioned it's about.
there's a very important verse I just read the other day, very important, and you can find this reference. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's talking about Putana. She poisoned Krishna with her breast milk, and she got liberated to enter the spiritual world as a mother. And the Sanskrit is Kim Go Anumata. What about the cows that are like mothers? What's their destination? If a witch got the liberating, went to the spiritual world, become Krishna's mother, what to speak of the cows whose own milk has fed Krishna? What's their destination? So it's part of you could say the justification for drinking milk. You take that milk, you offer it to Krishna. What benefit will those cows get? We can't even imagine the benefit these cows will get by Krishna accepting their milk. So that's an added thing. You can drink milk. It's still the Dharma Dugam, but to really enhance that milk, you offer it to Krishna, you give it to Krishna with love and devotion, and he accepts it. What benefit will those cows get? That's very, very important. But the key thing is somehow or other, work with your temples, work with your projects, help them design a cow protection project that scales up enough to provide for all the temple's needs and for the associated community. That's what we need to do it today or tomorrow. It has to be done. We've got to go down that route of scaling up our Goshalas to the extent that all our dairy comes from a protected cow. Nothing we could do. We could say, all right, I'm going to use, because last week Sanatan Prabhu was talking about using oil perhaps rather than ghee. We could say, I want that oil to be milled by a protected ox. Again, another positive thing. Then you can set up these oil presses where these oxen are protected and you're pressing the oil. Somehow they make a difference. Don't just retreat and to do nothing. Do something. Go action means have cows, protect them. Do something positive. This movement needs courageous, powerful entrepreneurs to manifest cow protection. If we do that, powerful people in the governments of India particularly will take note of what we've done, and they will help them integrate their own things. So we have a great part to play because we have this very beautiful philosophy of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have Srila Prabhupada's wisdom to articulate the verse of the Bhagavatam and actions that we should do.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for reminding us of the lost treasure And I clearly understood that we need to do extensive groundwork right now. There's this urgent need for close networking amongst devotees, amongst people, amongst the like minded people who want to protect cows, and giving up on milk is not the only active solution. So I hope that this session brings a change in the lives of people. It brings a change in the way people think, and it brings a change in the way people look at cows and people look at cow protection. There have been certain questions in the comment section. I'll just take a few. Um, what are the major threats to cows in modern society?
Well, they're all going to be killed. That's the biggest threat. And not just killed, they're not cared for. The society doesn't understand, they don't see. They kind of laugh at the kind of Vedic perspective. But the Vedic perspective is the wisdom of the universe. And so actually you could say hand in hand with the Sankirtan movement is cow protection. They kind of come hand in hand. Without the Sankirtan movement, without the distribution of philosophy and knowledge, people don't understand what cow protection is. So the major threat to cow, well, unfortunately, as we mentioned initially, once there was a time when hardly a cow was killed. Now there's hardly a cow that's not killed. Things have really shifted.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. The next question is, why so less people understand that cow protection is important for us and for our life? Also, what are the major basic information that people should know?
Well, this is the interconnectedness of the Vedas and the Srimad Bhagavatam and cow protection. Unless people understand Krishna and his love for the cows and all the ways that cows are benefiting society, then how can they won't see cow protection in its importance as we do. Everywhere they see the importance of milk, everywhere they see the importance of even the dead animal, they see those importances, but they don't see the importance of letting the cow live its full life. And that requires a deep philosophical understanding where you get into the realm of the soul and the right of the soul to lead its life in a particular body. So people need that kind of education about Krishna consciousness, about the science of the soul. So if you want people to understand cow protection, generally they got to get the understanding about the importance, about their eternal existence, and about the cow's soul within, and the cow's connection with the universe and the controller of the universe.
Right. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. The next question is from Jayapru. Hare Krishna, Panchanga Pranam. In this 21st century, how an individual and the democratic government step forward for protection of cows? And is it necessary to become a vegan?
As we mentioned, being a vegan doesn't actually protect any cows. Cow protection, as we understand it, means you have cows and you protect them. You're not drinking any milk, but you're not actually protecting the cow. All the cows are still being killed. So for us, individually, we do what we can. Democratic government, well, I think each of us perhaps is associated with our temple. Do something there. Start to make a difference there. Manifest a cow protection project that takes responsibility for all the cows, all the calves, all the bulls, all the oxen. Start there. Start with an individual, and then the government will take note. If you can find a place for the bulls in your community, then the government may take note about that, because at the moment they don't talk about bulls for transportation or bulls for they're not, or agriculture. They don't talk about that. They want John Deere or Mahindra tractors to plow the fields. So we have to show in our own local communities, no, we're going to prioritize the cultivation of land using oxen. So start off with the individual, and maybe the government will take note or may not take note, but at least we'll be doing it. And that's what's important for us as individual and for our local community.
Right. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. In fact, integrating livestock has been one of the main objectives of the global meetings that have been taking place. All the prime ministers and the leaders coming together. Integration of livestock is a very, very important thing that is playing an important role in all the meetings all across the world. Uh, the next comment is from Simple Living High Thinking. Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam. Hope all temples take to cow protection activities and all dairies are completely banned. Let artificial insemination be completely banned. What's your take on this?
Well, one has to have a practical head on these issues. And when you, it's easier for us to say what someone else should do. The ministry is helping. The ministry has created this course called Care for Krishna's Cows course. And one can be trained in the fundamental principles and thinking processes of running a Goshala. But we need people to do the courses and implement those those learning tools. In terms of artificial insemination, well, you got to be a little practical. And in other words, the ideal is the bull. Srila Prabhupada mentioned why this artificial insemination, better to use the bull. But keeping a bull is not a simple thing. Bulls are full of testosterone, they're full of passion, they're full of danger, especially in some of our Western bulls. They're very dangerous. So keeping a bull is not a toy. It's a very serious thing. And sometimes you might need to use artificial insemination if a bull is not available. It may be necessary to use artificial insemination if you've got a bull and you have to impregnate his daughters. It might be important for you to use artificial insemination if you've got a herd of not so good cows and you want to bring in higher value bloodlines into your herd. Artificial insemination is a good way of doing it. People aren't going to sell you their prime bull. They're not going to sell you their best bull. They're going to give you the bull they don't want. So sometimes artificial insemination is a tool that can be used for the betterment of cow protection. But you ask the cows and ask the bull, they'd rather have a bull rather than artificial insemination. So the best is a bull, but you can also use artificial insemination if necessary. But the way forward is things naturally. That's what Srila Prabhupada asked us to do.
Right. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Throughout the session, what I've realized is no matter what happens and no matter what we talk about, what we have to understand is according to the time, place, and circumstances, certain things are bound to change. But what we should do is we should always try and focus on the bigger picture. So I hope that this session is fulfilling its purpose. I hope that it is answering all your questions. Please post in your questions. And in regards to ISKCON's kitchen and the dairy products, please understand the agenda and the objective of this particular session. With Prabhuji, you can ask your questions in regards to cow protection, how you can promote, how you can contribute to cow protection. In regards to ISKCON's kitchen and the commercial dairy products, we'll have another sessions because this is an initiative we have started on our own. So maybe next Wednesday we'll have another guest जिससे आप ऐसे questions पूछ सकते हैं. Somebody who can answer these questions with all the credibility. Prabhuji, the next question is from Vishal. What is the connection between cow protection and karma or non-violence?
Well, it's interesting because I'm not sure exactly what your question is. Cow protection means to actively protect cows, and non-violence means ahimsa. But if you use ahimsa as your measuring tool towards cow protection, sometimes you might feel that cow protection is not ahimsa. If it means that you don't create any difficulty at all in the system, then you're going to have some trouble. I'll give some examples. Krishna's pastimes depict that the calf is kept separate from the mother. That all the milk isn't for the calf. The cow's milk is for the cow, and it's for the calf, and it's for people. So to make sure the calf doesn't drink all the milk, the calf is grazed separately. It's all there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna's pastimes. The calves are over here, the cows are over here. If you use ahimsa as the measurement of no inconvenience, no trouble, that's not ahimsa. You got to put a needle through the nose of a bull to harness him. Some may say, "Oh my God, that's not a himsa. You can't pierce the nose of a bull." You might say, sometimes you have to, Krishna carried a stick. He waving the stick in the ground. That's not himsa because he has to scare the cows a little bit so they go forward. So you can't use the ahimsa as the measuring tool for the practical behavior of cows. But you will not kill the cows. You're not going to try to hurt the cows or harm them. But sometimes you have to use behaviors to herd the cow in a particular way. Imagine a bull is approaching you. It wants to gore you into the ground. Are you going to hit it with a stick? Or are you going to say, I'm a himsa? What are you going to do? Cow protection is practical. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect people. So, but we're not doing it to harm them. We're doing it to protect them. So this is cow protection. And karma, we have to do things. There's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. By meditating on a cow, you can get rid of bad karma just by meditating on a cow. You may remember the pastime that, again, I think it's Putana Witch, where the mother Yashoda, she got the tail of a cow and she simply waved it around baby Krishna and it gave full protection. So that's getting rid of bad karma. Somewhere other, just how do you understand that? Can you show that in universities? A scientific research about waving a cow's tail somewhere that affects your karma. These are just some thoughts. There's probably many different ways that you could answer those questions. These are some thoughts that came to my mind.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This was something so new to us that even on meditating on cows, we get rid of our bad karmas. It is so nice. Another question is cow protection more about sentiment or science?
Very good question. And I think that what's happened is sentiment has somehow taken over. Why is it, for example, why is it that the zebu cows, why is it they're giving so little milk? Why is that possible? Why is it the cow that we depict in Krishna's pastimes, the ground was being moistened by their milk? Why is it that their cows are not giving so much milk? Why are the Western cows giving so much milk? I think the sentiment has, for a period of time, has overridden the scientific analysis and care for cows. For example, if you let any bull impregnate your prime cow, that's sentiment. That's not science. But Thakur says that that bulls should be selected to improve the bovine race. But Thakur said this. So if you let any bull impregnate your cow just because it's a bull, that is sentiment. As a family man, you don't want anyone to marry your daughter. You don't want your son to marry any woman. You want to make sure that there's a kind of improvement in the family's standing. So cow protection is the same thing. If you don't apply scientific business acumen, then sentiment has taken over and you're destroying the productivity of your cows. Any cow will do as a cow. Any cow is sacred. But if you want milk, you want good milking cows, you want a good breed of cows, a good choice of bull, good food. You can't feed your cows straw and expect them to produce lush, bountiful amounts of milk. But you give them nice grass, nice proteins, nice minerals. So it's a scientific process of feeding your cows well, then they can produce as much milk as their capacity. If you've got a breed of cow that's only going to give you 1 liter of milk on top of their calf, that's sentiment. If you want to have a dairy breed, don't choose that breed. Choose maybe a nice Sahiwal or Red Sindhi that may give you 10 liters of milk per day or something like that. That's science. Sentiment means any cow will do. Yes, every cow is sacred. But for society, we want to improve the bovine race so they're producing plenty of milk for society and good stout bulls for working and improving the state of the cows.
True. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Is it that today's cow's milk is known as sorrow of mother cow, as they produce it forcefully by hurting the cow? Please elaborate on this.
I find that some of the propaganda, it's not kind to what's actually going on. There's an agenda by some to demonize dairy cows per se, and things are said that are not true. And for example, cows don't mind being milked. Recently, someone showed me some footage of a dairy farm where it was automated milking. I didn't like it, but when I looked at the cows, they accepted it. They came in, they followed certain routes, they got their feed, they got milked, they went out. Later on, they came back again. They were quite contented with it. And that's another thing from that verse that I read. Cows by nature are contented. They'll accept things that even meager facilities. One of our go shelters we went to, I won't mention its name, the cows were tethered most of the time. It wasn't good standing in that regard, but the cows were stout and healthy, and they were giving lots of milk. So it's not that cows give milk out of sorrow. The sorrow is that you're taking their calves. That's the sorrow. But milking them is not a sorrow. Yeah, it's nice to milk them by hand. In the manner where I was manager, we integrated hand milking. They still hand milk the cows. Most of our go shelters in the world milk by hand. But milking by machine isn't fundamentally wrong. You just got to supervise it and make sure the cows are comfortable. So our issue is that the whole atmosphere of these dairies is Shudra Padahatam. It's governed by people who don't have the heart of a cow protector. They don't see the cow the same way we do. That's the harmful situation that's there. So what are we to do? As I'm appealing here, we have to show the world how to actually look after cows and get nice, productive cows in a protected dairy. But dairies themselves are not fundamentally harmful for the cows, but the killing of the cows is what's harmful. Milking cows is not wrong. Feeding them is not wrong. Separating the calf is not wrong, but the not bringing them together is what's wrong. The cow and calf should have separation and separation and togetherness, separation and togetherness, and finally you wean them when they're about 6 months old or so. But some aspects of the dairy industry are not good, but some aspects are, that's what cows do. They give milk. You impregnate them, they produce a calf, they give milk. That's all okay. But the separation of the calf is not good, and the killing of the cow is not good.
Mm-hmm. True. Thank you so
But
much, Prabhuji. Yeah.
I want to say that we have to be careful. We can't just criticize what other people are not doing. We have to show how to do it. And we haven't done enough of that. That's my main theme of this conversation here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This session has really given us so much new information, and it has given us a completely new insight, because so far what we learned was giving up on milk and dairy products is the one and only way to help the cows not get killed. But what you have given us is a completely new direction, new perspective, and it makes more sense, and it requires a lot of teamwork. So before we end this session, Prabhuji, do you have a last message for our audience?
Yes, be kind to your leaders and ask them to do what they can do, but work with them. Take the burden off them. If you do all the thinking for them and you lay out a nice plan and all they have to do is say yes, it's more likely to be successful than you say, here's what I want you to do, and you ask them to do all the working out. They need land. Buy land. Help them buy land. Help them establish large go shelters. Help them. Every community needs a significantly sized go shelter to provide for their dairy needs. Actively work with them to make a difference.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I hope this session opened your eyes. I hope this session gave you a little bit of new information. I hope this session helped you think a different way. I hope this session has forced you to think upon yourself, meditate on how you can help in the cow protection movement, how you can contribute to the protection of mother cows. Thank you so much for joining. Please share your honest views in the comment section. How do you like this new trend that we've started about talking about mother cow on every Wednesdays? Please share what all did you learn from this session, and I request you to share this session with as many people as possible. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna.